This is Cougar football.
Mike, for the philosophy of not looking at the scoreboard and just taking it one play at a time, is there a better teaching example of that than a game like that?
I think the last game was a pretty good one. We just had to focus on, rather than disappointment, each individual play and keep stacking them up until, stack up plays and be patient enough till you get back in it and win it,
Is that a game that maybe players who are on this team can look back on in the future when there's difficult moments as an example of what they can do if they just don't look at the scoreboard?
I think it probably reinforces that. I think it's helpful in that fashion.
Do you put any extra emphasis this week of making sure that not looking back at an emotional victory, but focusing on the week ahead?
We just want to focus, we just want to win one game a week, so just focus on this game this week.
For the defense to only give up 2 field goals over those final 3 quarters, and including a couple tight drives at the end, have they earned some more confidence from you?
I felt like they really only gave up 7 points because I don't recall the drives exactly. I think they were set up by turnovers and they had pretty good field position when those things started. I thought our defense played well, played really hard, and I think that just needs to reinforce with them if they play fast, play hard together, that that they can be pretty good.
Dykes' version of the air raid, they've been running the ball more than they've been throwing it. I mean, when you look at what he's doing, is it still pretty similar to your offense, or is it pretty different now?
Quite a bit different. I think it's different. They do some of that double tight stuff, which we've messed with over the years, and they'll do some quick game, a screen on this side, a quick game on the other side. But, they've got really good receivers and a good quarterback, and so, they do a good job.
When he was the co-offensive coordinator at Tech, was he trying to kind of get you to implement some of that stuff?
No, Dana was kind of always more the voice of that. So, and then of course I still ran the offense, but no, he just sort of coached his guys, coached the receivers and did a good job of that.
What do you recall about Jared Goff? You saw him last year when he was only a freshman. Was he pretty good for a freshman?
Yeah, I think he's really good. Good, resilient, throws the ball real well. Ball comes off his hand fast. I think he's really good, and I also think pretty mature guy for, where he's at as far as his classification.
What's your relationship like with him?
I see him, a couple of times a year. We always talk. We've known each other for a long time. It goes clear back to when he was my GA at the University of Kentucky. So I've known him for a long time, and so. But you got all the coaching things and the Pac-12 meetings, so I'll see him there always.
When you called the guys aside, I mean, I'm sure a lot of coaches would have been frustrated and wanted to give kind of the fire and brimstone. What made you realize that maybe wasn't what the guys needed at that time?
We just had to reset our focus, not play out of control, just focus on one play at a time and just do that. I mean, sometimes when you get in a situation like that where bad things have happened to you, you try to overcorrect or get it all back in one play, which that causes you to squander additional plays, and I thought it was important we not do that.
How did you feel the body language was when you were down 21-0 versus what it was like the rest of the game when they were coming back?
Well, it was better when we were coming back. But I felt like we pretty well stuck in there. We were frustrated when we were 21 down, but I did feel like everybody stuck in there pretty good.
Mike, as young as that secondary is, was there any aspect of how they played Saturday that surprised you?
I thought they played pretty well. I thought we did a good job getting pressure, and I thought they played pretty well. I thought both Daquan and Charleston did some good things. Darius Lamore, and I think Suleiman's getting better all the time.
Frankie Luvu played his first snaps. There's still young guys that are getting more and more time. Is that because they weren't ready earlier in the season and they're just now getting there?
He's strong and explosive. Really, I think we should add him out there earlier, but the sooner the better.
Can you draw upon any from your previous coaching experience where you had a football team that didn't play well the last time you went someplace,
and then you get off to a rough start, but then you see the turnaround, the progression, almost like a maturity, kind of, in some ways, kind of a coming of age moment for a team.
In our case, part of it is we just had more experience playing with one another. I mean, you can go through the list, but there's 25 guys that play in the course of each game that hadn't played college football before or started a game. And I think a part of it is they just got used to playing next to one another. They got familiar with one another. And so I think, you know, it goes beyond just the youth that they're young. I mean, I think the bigger thing was just being familiar with the guy on either side of them and getting used to the timing that goes along with that.
How important was it, you talked about improving week to week and building on what you did against Oregon, how important was it to continue that trajectory at Utah and avoid taking a step back when you were starting to feel positive about what you're doing?
Well, it's always important to steadily improve your skills. I mean, that's why you practice, that's why you do the whole thing. You know, I mean, you need to constantly be building and improving. You know, it's always been interesting to me. I mean, you know, and I get questions like this every year, and I will every other week for the rest of the season. It'll be something to the effect of, well, you're playing this team and they're really good, so are you guys going to practice extra hard this week? Well, I mean, if we're doing our job, how the hell can we practice extra hard? If we're out there playing as hard as we can every day, there ain't no extra hard. We're already as hard as we can be. And then there's a, you know, the notion that, you know, this, well, you know, the practice is just a JC softball league or something like that, you know, that, you know, yuck, yuck, ha, ha, oh, now we got somebody that's tough, now let's practice hard. No, it's a series of steady improvement. You discover what you can do, you build on that, you improve from that, and your timing and your level of play and intensity increases, and as you successfully do that time upon time upon time, you'll be a better player. Then as everybody does it individually, you'll be a better team. And as people start to lose their focus on something like that, you have to regenerate it, and if somebody doesn't buy into that, you get rid of them. It's about as simple as that. So
I guess the question is, how encouraging was it to see that at work than, I guess, the last couple of weeks?
I just think everybody's steadily improved. You know, I think young guys, you got to worry about them getting discouraged when there's disappointment, but I think we've gotten better at getting rid of that too. So, and practicing hard, and then the big step for us was the Portland State game, to be able to get our performance on the practice field out on the game field, and we got to continue that.
When you called the timeout, was the effort where you wanted it to be? Were they the most excited to play like you wanted them to be?
I thought I'll be honest, I think the Utah defense at that time, I felt like the Utah defense was playing harder than us at that point. And you know, so I think we had to refocus there. I think that our defense was playing well, but I thought our defense was playing pretty well other than the explosive play. And, you know, we didn't want to lose that focus there. And really all three sides of the ball, it wasn't really a lack of effort. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't a clean performance by any stretch. It's sort of excited and it was sort of excited and sloppy, but I think everybody from the beginning was excited to win and committed to win and play the best they could.
You guys have added a couple wrinkles the last few weeks. The $2 on the field, the two tight ends.
The two what?
The $2 linebackers.
Oh.
Are you happy with all those, or the ones that maybe weren't as successful as you wanted?
I don't know about all these, you know, shoot, we'd call everything half a dozen things around here. We wanted speed on the field, and so, you know, in some of those packages, if you're a fast guy, we want the fast guys out there.
What do you like most about the two running back packages, and what in particular Gerard and Jamal do to allow them to expose defenses when they're on the field together?
Well, they're both talented. They're both getting better as we speak. They're both strong, physical. Jamal's real shifty and hard to put a hand on. Gerard's fast, you know, and a more physical quality. Both catch the ball pretty well. Both are smart guys for their age, and both, I think, have improved each week. So I think, and that's helped us.
What's the main benefit of having both those guys back there rather than one and a wide receiver?
Well, I think you got two quality running backs in there, and the running backs are kind of the best athletes on the field. Then the other thing, the defense has to make a choice whether they're going to fill up, whether they're going to put everybody inside the front there to defend the run, or whether they're going to defend the pass. And then, you just try to identify what they do and figure out, where you have the best advantage to play. Sometimes it's to run it, sometimes it's to throw it, sometimes it's something in between, and sometimes it's variety. But it did give them some problems lining up if those backs are successful, and especially if both of them are doing pretty good.
Coach, what have you seen out of the Cal defense?
What do I see? What?
The Cal defense, what have you seen out of those guys?
No, I think they play hard. I think the defensive line, I think, is kind of a stout physical group. They've got some young DBs also. I think those guys run pretty well. They're kind of explosive. Seem to be getting better every game. But I would say the front's kind of a physical group for them.
I know sometimes you'll take a play and you'll show it to the team over and over. Was Robert Lewis's block on that Mealy touchdown a case of that?
That's one of the greatest effort clips of the season. Robert Lewis threw the pass to Vince Mealy. Robert Lewis ran his route, then reversed course, and then he decleated the DB that probably would have made the tackle for a big gain, but probably would have made the tackle. But Robert Lewis blew him up, and Vince scored. It was a great effort, great play from the neck up by Robert Lewis, and just a great effort clip.
Coach, what do you think has allowed Wick and Jamal Moore for that? What has allowed them to achieve success so early in their careers?
I think part of it, they're focused guys. They're pretty smart, and neither one were terribly intimidated by being freshmen, so they were able to take what they could do and get it out there on the field fairly quickly without regression or being afraid to play.
Have you got the sense that the success some of these young guys are having early, has that pushed some of the upperclassmen?
Well, I think it has. We don't have very many upperclassmen. Some it's pushed, but some it's pushed themselves just because we don't have that many upperclassmen. I forget how many. It's not very many. So, we got some good young faces down there that are pretty good players, and who's the starters? The hardest thing is some of these guys, we haven't had them around to see exactly what they can do, and when they're young, they quickly emerge. But the other thing is once you have a body of reps and a body of material, figuring out who the starter is shouldn't be very hard. It doesn't matter if you have 5 all-pro guys or 5 Molly Putz junior high school guys. Just say, well, this guy, he's better than this guy, so it'd be like this, it'd be like that, and then, and then the guy that's the top guy, so you play that one, and then, but we've had some musical chairs just because guys have emerged and they're younger, and we haven't been able to see and evaluate what they can do because they haven't been on the field yet, and this is their first time, and some of them have stage fright, but most of them are coming out of that, so then as a result they improve.
Have you found that it benefits the defense when you're going against an offense that runs a lot of the similar types of stuff that you might see on a daily basis in practice?
Yeah, it's both ways. Their defense does too, so I haven't noticed much difference, because, it is for us, but it is for them too,
Is it easier for your guys to maybe just kind of read and react and recognize what's going on and lining up and within the flow of the play?
Yeah, but it is for them too, so it all mitigates itself, their defense does the same thing, so.
Questions on the line for Coach Leach?
Mike, Bud Withers here. Can you give us a quick thumbnail of what makes Craycraft effective?
The biggest thing is that he's focused. He doesn't let outside influences really affect him. You know, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, but he's focused. He's, you know, he's not a guy that's got a bunch of outside things contaminating his thinking. Works really hard, so then naturally the skills he does have, he elevates constantly. And then, you know, he's never been afraid to go out and play. He's never been afraid to go out and put his best foot forward, so he hasn't squandered any time, you know, with the whole anxiety thing of, you know, of doing this whole I think I can stuff. I mean, he went out there, you know, I can run a route and I can catch, and I'm going to do that over and over again, and then, you know, I'll improve from there. But right now I can do that, and I'm going to do that the best I can, as fast as I can, and just the disciplined focus to to do that, I think, is huge. You know, it's because it's funny. You know, guys that can focus on doing what they can do are the guys that have the most success early. And you see it at all levels. I mean, and you see it at different positions. And you see it, like one example, and I always use receivers as an example because, you know, there's the isolated skill of catching a ball. If a guy, you know, I get guys from high school, and they got great hands, never drop a ball. You watch them in practice, just very skilled with their hands. Never drop a ball, never drop a ball, never drop a ball. And then you get them in college, and they'll drop balls for a year and a half. Well, now how the hell can they drop a ball? I mean, all there is it doesn't matter if the ball's thrown by an all-pro or a machine or a junior high kid. There's a ball flies through the air, and there it is. Either you catch it or you don't. And but all of a sudden, just by virtue of going to college, they can't catch a ball for a year and a half, and then you know, they'll settle in and they'll have a great career. I've had guys that start like that become All-Americans, but they'll have a great career, and then they'll go to the NFL, and they'll get to the NFL, and there's nobody in college that had any better hands than they did. And they'll go to the NFL, and all of a sudden they can't catch. Well, how's that possible they can't catch? Yeah, I mean, well, clearly it's mental, you know. I mean, guys that let stuff run around their head. Oh my gosh, I'm in college. Oh my gosh, these guys are bigger. Oh my gosh, they're better. Where do I get a haircut? Well, what's the best hamburger place here? Oh, I got English class. Well, mom's not waking me up to go, so how do I get there? Oh, this girl in English is really hot, but I'm sure she hates me. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, you know. But those that are able to seal that out, like River Craycraft evidently, have a chance to go out there and do it like they could in high school and build on that. And so, and that's what's key. But there's some great players out there that go through the long wind-up and adjustment. We're very fortunate that he's one that didn't mess around with that. He didn't care about all that other stuff that I mentioned.
Are you willing to name any names of guys that have gone on to the NFL that particularly struggle with that?
No, I'm not. But but I mean, it's the strangest thing. I mean, you're going, well, is the guy big enough, strong enough, fat? Well, but the one thing he can do is catch the ball. And then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, it's not even possible. I mean, the ball flew through the air. Thousands did in college. Thousands. You know, and then, well, the same thing happened in high school. It's just, you know, I mean, the mind's got to be relaxed and focused on the ball, look for detail on the ball, nothing but you run the route, catch the ball. It manifests itself other ways in other positions, but, you know, a ball through the air is an isolated incident, and if you add all that up, I mean, the guy might screw a bunch of stuff up, but catching shouldn't be one of them. Well, I mean, you got to uncloud their mind somehow, and that's the biggest challenge.
Any other questions on the line?
Yeah, I got a follow-up. This is kind of a historical question. Mike, how different, if you go back to roughly the time that you got into coaching, how different are passing games in college compared to, you know, back then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago?
Quite a bit different. I mean, it's odd to say, Feels strange to say. Well, it's a lot more routine for somebody to throw for 300 yards. I mean, I remember when we first started throwing it, there'd only be a handful of teams in America throwing for 300 yards, you know. Oh my gosh, threw for 300 yards in a game. Well, now that happens all the time. I think some of it, I think some of it's running a lot of the principles and the ideas and the thoughts and some of the packages that we've been running for a long time. I think, you know, now a lot of the times the people we play are doing some similar things. And then the other thing that I think in particular is the high schools have adapted these type of schemes and, you know, spread offenses and throwing the ball. Well, then they develop athletes around it. Then the, you know, the quality of receivers goes up, the quarterbacks go up. Well, then as they take an interest in that, then those passing leagues, which started in California and now have taken off all over the country. You know, guys throwing and catching year round. And so quarterbacks get better, receivers get better. And I think the thing is just sort of developed and exploded to a point where, you know, everybody's improved, not just the willingness and the inclination to do the more aggressive passing schemes, but the quality of athletes doing it has improved a great deal as well.
And back then, did you, I'm trying to remember, did you ever see I'm talking about outside of what you guys were doing, did you ever see a bubble screen or a tunnel screen or some of the stuff that's pretty common nowadays?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, we had one when the CFL came down to the U.S. briefly. We had one, it's sort of a tunnel screen. It was kind of a tunnel screen. We called it Surge for the Sacramento Surge. They ran that. And I can't remember who was the coach at the Surge. Surge only lasted a year or two at the most. So we called it the Surge. And Sacramento Surge. And then, and so then, that went on for a while, and we enjoyed that, and Surge was great, and then went to Oklahoma, and there was a kind of a cleaning guy, equipment guy there at OU, and just the biggest OU zealot and interested in all things OU, and knew a lot about the history, could literally recite names and dates. And his name was Sarge. So in commemoration of him, we called it Sarge. What are we going to run this play? Well, we're going to run Sarge. And then, and we even saluted, you know. The signal from the sideline was a salute. Hey, Sarge, you know, this is what we're running. And then, and so that's where I first remember it, and I'm sure somebody did it before that. And then, what was the other, a bubble screen?
Yeah, that's just an example.
Well, I can't say, you know, we were one of the early ones to jump on it. We weren't necessarily the first to do it. But we were pretty aggressive with it, and we did it a lot. And we threw a bunch of them to Wes Welker, and then of course the NFL at that time, to my knowledge, had never thrown it, and if they had, I'd like to see the film of it. They'd never thrown it. And then a couple years after he graduates, there's Wes Welker out there, and they're throwing bubble screens to him. Well, we didn't necessarily invent the bubble screen, but I guarantee you that they didn't get the idea of throwing Wes Welker the bubble screen on their own. We certainly had a lot of help in that happening. So.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the line for Coach Leach? All right, in the room?
Last year there were some defensive linemen that were redshirting that you felt could have contributed late in the year, but it wasn't worth burning their red shirt. Are we approaching the point of the season where it makes sense to preserve those guys as red shirts?
Yeah, I mean, you just balance and evaluate the best you can. I mean, sometimes feel like a guy, guys will hit these plateaus, they'll improve, and then they'll plateau out, and you think, well, the guy's gonna do a pretty good job, then he plateaus, and you wish you would've saved it, and then some other guy, you wish you would've played him, so, we'll see.
Are you guys gonna try and get Isaac Gossner redshirt?
Yeah, we're not sure yet. Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see.
Any other questions for Coach?
Ready for your student question?
Yeah.
All right. Question is, when, not if, when Hollywood makes a movie about your life, who would you like to portray you in that film?
I've got that one before. Yeah, I always say John Cusack, and I've never met him or don't know him. I like all his movies, but I've been told that he looks a little like me, and then and maybe mannerisms similar. But I've never met him other than just watching his movies. And then I liked him in the baseball movie, on the Chicago. 8 Men. What was it?
8 Men Out.
8 Men Out. He's a Dodger fan, but he knows about baseball. 8 Men Out, yeah.
Camps.
You have a stereo you can hold up at any point to play out a woman's window or anything like that?
Do what now?
Cusack style, say anything with the boombox?
Oh, nah. I'm not real good with technology. I let the kids handle that. All this button pushing and whatnot. This is, you can just imagine based on what's happened in, the last 15 years. Conversations won't happen. 10 years from now, there ain't going to be anybody talk to anybody. It's going to be this. Do you want to go out on a date with me? I don't know. What do you look like? Well, I look kind of like this. Okay, well, what are your interests? Well, what do you think my interests are? Looking into this thing and typing into this, just like yours are. Well, yeah, no kidding. That's what everybody's doing. Yeah, that's right. Virtually everyone. Well, where do you want to go? Well, what difference does it make? Because all we're going to be doing is looking in this machine anyway. Well, that's true. In the end, it's going to be tough to perpetuate this, the species. There's no question about that. Well, we're going to enjoy looking in this box, and eventually we're all going to be extinct and die out. Well, that's how it ends.